starting with algebra today. Who knows another language other than English here? Now we'll be learning another language. So for those people who say that they only speak English, from today you could say I can also speak Algebraic. Yeah. All right, because we'll be learning that language today. Let's probably start off with our warm-up today. I want you to think of a number from 1 to 10. Multiply it by 5. Add 8 to your answer. Subtract 3 from this. Divide your answer by 5. Then subtract your original number. What number did you get? All of you got our magic number today. Number 1, right? How do you think that works? I know lots of these types of things. Yes, and that's my other question now. Do you know any other tricks? We talk about pronumerals, right? In English, we have pronouns. In maths, we've got pronumerals. What do pronouns do? In English, pronouns would replace nouns. And therefore, pronumerals in maths, they would replace numerals. Sometimes we do care what would be the value of that. Sometimes we just assume it can be any number, okay? Sometimes it would be best if we practice how to write those letters so we don't confuse ourselves whether it's another symbol that we use for maths. Okay, so for example, when we write T with a tail, so it doesn't look like a plus. Yes, you write the letter O, you write it again with a tail, yeah, instead of just that for 0, right? When we write the X, we write it with the inverted C's put together, right? So that it doesn't look like the X or the times. When you write the letter I, you write it with a scripted I, so it doesn't look like a 1. The same thing with an L, right? Why did I write I like that? 1. Yeah, what else? Can't think of any other ones. So when you write the Z, I usually write it with a dash so it doesn't look like the 2, right? Other thing that I haven't solved is the 6, and sometimes it looks like my B. So Q would be that, and 9 like that. There are certain ways that, just like any other language, there would be certain ways on how they would be writing their letters or their conventions of how, you know, sentences or phrases would be constructed, okay? Just like when we multiply 3 and the letter T or X, you don't write the multiplication symbol, all right? You just write 3x, okay? So if the operation between a number and a letter or a letter and a letter, right, is invisible, there is an operation and the operation would be multiplication, okay? In the same way, if we want to divide 3 by x, we don't write the division symbol, we just write it as a fraction. When you're multiplying, for example, T by 7, then you don't write T7, right? That's an X. It should be numbers first and then the letters. You can't write it as T7 because we do have, when we have T times T times T, 7 times T is used as a factor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 5, 6, 7. Then that would be T to the power of 7, right? When you read it as well, you don't read it as T7, but you read it as T to the power of 7 or T to the 7th power, right, or t to the 7. When you would be multiplying two variables, just like when you have x multiplied by y. Can you hear the kookaburras outside? X times y, back to maths. Back to maths. X times y, you get xy. Right? So you just write it with xy. You could probably say if you had y times x, you can also say yx, but then mathematicians, sometimes people say that they're lazy, but they're actually efficient people. And most importantly, they're very orderly people, right? So when you have yx and there's a certain way, certain order that you can write them, then might as well do that, right? So you don't write it as yx, but instead you write it as xy. When you have 9 times w times b, then that becomes 9wb. Okay, does that look like a 9 or a q? Or a b or a 6? See? Okay, so write your numbers properly. Okay, so these are the other conventions that mathematicians said how you're going to be writing your algebraic expressions. Okay, so when you have a times b, again, you don't write with a multiplication symbol, you just write AB. When you have 2 times h times 2, because of the commutative property of multiplication, you just say it's not h2, but instead 2h. Yeah. When you have 4DE, write the pronumeral in alphabetical order, right? You can write 4ED, but yeah, we want to try to be the best mathematician as we can. So we want them written in order, right? So it's 4DE. When you have 2 times g times g, the same thing, you have 2g squared, okay? And again, when you have your division, you don't write the division symbol, right, Rocky? You just write it as a fraction. You write h over I, okay? What are pronumerals? What about variables? How are they different from each other? Right on the chat. So can we still perform the 4 basic operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division? Why stop there? Can't we have indices for this one? Or even brackets for this one? Okay, what is an algebraic expression? Does it matter if I switch the order of the numbers and or the pronumerals in an expression? So just like when we said yx, is that the same as xy? Yes, they are the same. The values would be the same, right? But how you write them, there's a certain way of writing them properly, or maybe more elegant, okay? Mathematicians love the word elegant, okay? So when they are written elegantly, so those are the things that you might want to consider. What is x squared? How is it different from 2x? X squared is x times x. 2x is 2 times x. How else can you write 2 times x? 2 lots of x. When you have multiplication, it's a repeated addition. So when it's a repeated addition, how are you going to write 2x? X plus x. So when you have x squared, it's x times x. When you have 2x, it's x plus x. There's an extension question there, similar to what we've already answered anyway. So explain the difference between x cubed and 3x. Okay, how are you going to extend that? Thanks, everyone. See you all tomorrow. Bye.